This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Also being heard on translator K266CC Cheyenne at 101.1 FM.
It's time now for something new for you. It's KRAE Reports, a week in review. Now let's check in with our program right here on 1480 KRAE Cheyenne. And welcome to our program, KRAE Reports, a week in review. I'm Larry Perotti along with Nick Perotti. And again, a reminder, today is November 7th. Tomorrow is Election Day. So again, your constitutional right to go out and vote. So make sure you make your voice heard at various polling places throughout the community of Cheyenne, as well as Laramie County as well. So get out there and vote. Speaking of votes, a gentleman that is running again for re-election in Ward 2 will join us. But we had his opponent on last week, so Dr. Mark Rinne joins us here this morning on KRAE Reports. So, Mark, good to see you again. We haven't seen each other in a long time.
It's been a long time, Larry. Nice to see you again.
And again, let's do a little chatting here for our listeners. The Mark Rinne resume, so people know exactly who you are. Even though you we'll get into length of service on the city council. But let's talk about Mark Rinne.
Well, I have lived in Cheyenne for 35 years now, and been. I'm a dentist here. I have 5 children, raised them here in Cheyenne. They all went through the school system here. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Roseanne Rinne. Of my children, I have 2 that are still in town. I still do. I teach fencing out at LCCC. I've done that for years. And I'm a private pilot. Trying to think what else.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Now, this would be, and we got to town, I got it here just a little bit earlier than you did. Am I wrong to say 7th, 8th term that you're running?
I'm running for my 7th. I served 2 terms from like 89 to 97, and then took 10 years off. Came back, it would have been 2006 election, and have been on council ever since.
I guess the question for you then, Dr. Rinne, is what keeps you going then as we approach that again term? Is it just the service of just seeing how Cheyenne is growing? What kind of keeps you going after that?
I love this job, and I'm excited about Cheyenne. It's some of it's the service, some of it's tangible. I've been asked to run for offices higher up, but the thing I really like about city council is I can drive through town and I can see something that I had a direct role in, like the greenways. I did the first Greenway resolution and got the first funding in the 5th penny for the greenways, so I can look at that. The new East Park, I was instrumental in getting that on the ballot. The same for I'm sure we would have done the new airport facility at some point, but I was the one that convinced some of the others that was an important gateway to the city. So Civic Center Commons, it was my ordinance that kept that going. So I can drive through town and I can see things that I've had a direct role in. So it's rewarding in that respect. I also think that the direction I've wanted to see Cheyenne go is, again, if we're going to grow and get more jobs, better jobs, then we need more amenities. And I've always been a quality of life advocate. But to answer your question, Nick, what keeps me going, it's the tangible aspects, like if you're in the legislature or Congress, you just send money down, but you're not really a part of doing anything. Whereas city council, you are. So I like that. I like being part of the discussion and being able to contribute to the discussion. And it's a very rewarding job. And as I said at the start, I love doing it.
Let's talk about your ward, Ward 2. And again, too, out of Ward 2, our current mayor, Pat Collins, also former mayor, Jack Spiker. What is it about your ward that keeps re-electing you? And again, Pat served many years on city council,
He did.
And then he took 4 years off to,
Yeah, I think he took a little longer off than that. But
8 years.
I served, I think it was 2 terms.
And then Jack was city council, mayor 2 terms, then
back
came
to
back
council.
to city.
Yeah.
What is it about your ward that keeps re-electing leaders like yourself to come back?
Well, I think we're not only good advocates for our ward, but we're good advocates for the city, and we're good representatives for the city. I know I realize I've been on there for a while, but I've also been elected council president 9 different times during that period. So I think our peers and I think our colleagues realize that we're professional, we work hard for the city, we take the job seriously, and I think we're effective.
How much communication do you have with your ward? Again, going to various city council meetings that I have in my lifetime here in Cheyenne, a lot of community intervention where they'll come up and speak at a council meeting, or when you have various other special type meetings. But tell us a little bit your interaction with your ward and with the community in general.
Well, obviously you get some of that with campaigning. I think I'm out in the community. I go to a lot of events and a lot of activities. I meet a lot of people. And to be honest, my dental practice is really a good sounding board. I have patients that have been with me for years, and they're not shy about telling me what they think or what they think we ought to be working on. And so that's been a really good sounding board too. But I think, I've been active in the community. I'm a member of the chamber. I've been out at LCCC, as I said, for years. I go to a lot of functions, fundraising functions around the city. My wife's been active in like Dancing with the Stars, and she'd started that, and so we've just been really involved in the community, and so people just talk to you. You get your feedback through that.
And again, yeah, at least for you, Mark, we had your opponent on last week where she said that, again, the biggest issue right now that as she's kind of knocking on doors in Ward 2 was saying, hey, communication or at least outreach to you and other various city council members was kind of a difficult situation right now. And that was kind of their plea. And again, you kind of gave that answer as you talked about your community involvement. But what would be your argument against what your opponent had to say to us here on the show that, hey, folks in your ward are trying to get a hold of you, but they are unable to? I mean,
I guess I disagree with that because, I answer phone calls when I get them or I call back. Generally, I can think of maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, but when I get an email, most of the time I make sure, I answer that, or sometimes Councilman Cook or Seagrave, if they answer it ahead of me, then maybe I don't. But when people talk to me or when people contact me, I respond. So I, can't say that.
So where your
accurate.
opponent said that, again, it was communication with city council members was kind of the biggest issue facing Ward 2 right now, especially with this general election upcoming. For you, Mark, what do you see for Ward 2 right now as biggest issue that you want to, if you are reelected to this position, that you want to address immediately to kind of help improve lives or improve Ward 2 here in Cheyenne?
Actually, Ward 2's in pretty good shape, I think. I mean, obviously, business-wise, commercial-wise, the Del Range corridor is borders Ward 2, so we have a lot of businesses and services in the area. So probably the main thing in Ward 2 is just addressing the streets. I mean, and I have to tell you, Nick, most of us on council take a broader view than our ward. Sometimes the Ward 1 members will feel like they're neglected. But for the most part, we look at what's best for the city as a whole. But specifically in our ward, as I said, I think we're in pretty good shape. Just addressing streets citywide, and that's being addressed. We had a large amount of money put in the last 6 pennies, so we should start soon having the money to. Then it's a matter of finding the contractors.
As you talk about what's best for the city of Cheyenne, and something that's been a hotbed issue, and again, we've asked every city council member, or again, those trying to get on the city council, this question: annexation. As right now, again, Mayor Collins and again, a lot of city council members are saying, hey, that's what's best right now for our city services, and to again improve upon at least Cheyenne, again, getting these pockets of the county within the city of Cheyenne. Want to get your thoughts? Annexation, favorable, issues? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, there's two parts to the annexation. One part, which you referred to, was the county pockets. And if you look at a map, a county city map, the area between Ridge and College and Del Range and Pershing looks like a checkerboard. And if you drive through that, there's a lot of unpaved streets. Those are county roads and not city streets. So we've come up. We're working on a plan to address that. We've looked at what do we do with that in the past. Again, there's issues as I referred to. There's unpaved streets in there. It's kind of a logistical nightmare for police and fire. I mean, and who's supposed to be responding to some of those areas. So we think as a city, and I agree, it would be better if those were all within the city. What has kept us from doing that in the past is that the city requires that when you come into the city, you have sewer, water, unless you get a permit to allow you to keep a well, and that you do half your street and curb and gutter. And sometimes the costs on that were more than what, especially like on a corner lot, sometimes the costs on that were more than what the property was worth. So we've never really forced the issue. So we were kind of backing off and saying that, okay, we won't require you to do that now, but if the property ever develops or redevelops, you will have to do it at that point. So we're trying to make it as painless as we can for those people to come in the city and take care of that. As far as annexation overall, the other part of it is, yeah, we need to grow and we need to continue to grow if we're going to be viable and vital and keep going. So yes, we need to continue with annexations. If you look at a map, again, and most of you are aware, the county has let ranchettes build up to the north and now to the east. We have the base on the west. So honestly, the only direction we as a city have to grow is to the south.
Mark, let's talk about UDC. And again, I hear sometimes, and again, I've read UDC. I remember about 10 years ago, I was like cramming for an exam. Yeah, there were parts of UDC I did not like. I didn't like the way the language was presented. But let's talk about UDC. Let's talk about Cheyenne business friendly to those. And again, we have a lot of mom and pops. We're not all corporate here in this part of the world. But let's talk about UDC. How business friendly is it to somebody to start up a business?
You know, I don't know if I can answer that. And for the people listening, UDC, if they're not familiar, is a Uniform Development Code. And that's what anybody that's going to build or develop something has to conform with what's required in the UDC. It's essentially our zoning and building and platting requirements are all wrapped into that. I will have to say that it is a document. I think every year we modify it a little bit. There's always things that come up, especially in the planning commission or comes through our planning office that said, you know, we've had people ask us to look at this. Let's go back and modify that. And I've talked to Charles Bloom, our planning director, about some of those things recently. We are going to, I think, make some dramatic changes. We're going to try and make it easier to combine the Board of Public Utilities and the city planning office part starting out, so it's easier for developers. We're going to probably modify some of the landscaping requirements to areas that are not quite as water intensive, and starting to look at how do we conserve what water we have. And I guess I've kind of talked around your question, Larry. They're just, I mean, if you're remodeling an old building or something, they're just things you're going to have to do. I mean, every city has to have, not everyone does, but I think every city should have standards. So if you're going to have development, you want to at least have something that's quality and going to look good and last good. And I think our UDC does that. But to answer your question, it does get modified every year. We do change it. We have some large changes, I think, proposed in the next year. Some of those changes, we just had a meeting a week ago on affordable housing. And there were areas in the UDC that were pointed out that probably add to the cost of construction or even new apartment buildings or whatever. I mean, one example was just the materials that we currently require. They said could add the cost of $125 a month to an apartment to rent. So we are looking at changing things like that and trying to make it better and make it a little easier to work with.
We're talking with Dr. Mark Rinne, who is vying for re-election in City Council Ward 2. Again, a reminder, please get out and do your constitutional right. Get out and vote tomorrow. Mark, let's talk about downtown. Like you said, the city of Cheyenne, you represent Ward 2, but you represent the whole city. And again, downtown Cheyenne, where we seen up, down. It's never really been
Right.
consistent. But I know you were kind of one of the architects for the lighting on 17th Street. But let's talk about the downtown in general. Are we close to making historic downtown Cheyenne viable shopping for just about every brand? And, that includes a supermarket. We know we lost the Safeway I don't say many years ago, but a few years back. But are we looking at the downtown right now as that viable marketing tool for Cheyenne?
It's getting better, Larry, and I'm glad you touched on that because I think downtown probably is the most important area in our community. I mean, you talk to the people that work at Leeds in the chamber, we have lost businesses at times because of the appearance of our downtown. But the DDA finally has some money to do things with helping with facade improvements. I think now they've even changed their philosophy that they're going to maybe start helping with some of their grants on internal improvements to help get some of those buildings refurbished. We have new local owners of the Hines. We're hoping they can do something with that. If you look at, it's going. You look at what Yelnats have done with the Paramount Ballroom and now the theater, or the Lincoln Theater. And bringing places in with that. We have a new bar and grill going in over in the old Taco John's. We have Aces Range is a unique entertainment golf center for downtown that's still going in. The new liquor license we awarded to, so there are more things. And downtown's probably never going to be retail again. They're not largely like it was when you and I first got here. I think it's going to be financial always, but I think it's going to be entertainment and dining as well. And you're right. It's 2 steps up, 1 step back, but it really crashed once the mall was built and all that retail left. But it is so much better than it was a few years ago, and it's slowly coming back.
Well, and again, slow progress to keep, though, at least those dollars here in town to shop local, buy local, as we promote here, KRAE and KYOY. Again, we talk about entertainment as well, too, with the Lincoln. Again, getting these acts in, Civic Center, Cheyenne Frontier Days, all that. Again, keeping it instead of going outside of town. Something also, too, as, again, you can tell we are passionate with athletics here, again, with 1480 KRAE. Again, we know with the Ice and Event Center, again, we lost at least one athletic team with the Cheyenne Stampede. We know that, again, collegiate baseball wants to come into town with that Independence League. Again, there's inquiries that we have an understanding that teams and leagues want to come to the city. And again, for us, keep those at least athletic dollars instead of going over to Laramie, Scotts Bluff, down to Colorado, keep it here in town. What's your thoughts? And we'll also to include a rec center as well, too, here in Cheyenne. Again, what's kind of your thoughts on athletics here in town to, again, kind of keep that money here in the Cap City?
No, I'm with you on that, Nick. I've been a big advocate of sports. As I said, I've taught a PE class out at LCCC. I've had a couple of my kids played either soccer or football going through the school system. I've coached 2 Sting teams. I've been part of the 3 attempts to get the rec center approved on the 6 penny. So to me that, athletics brings people into Cheyenne if you have great facilities. And so I think that's just another way that we can improve and market ourselves by keeping up and maintaining those facilities. Like,
Well, I was going to say, let me go on, jump onto that. How close do you feel this community is to passing a vote for a rec center? Again, every time that it's come up, and you know as well as I do, Mark, it gets filled with, and I'll use the word pork. Everybody, here's a presentation, then you got to put this on, put that on, and then usually by the time it's all said and done, it's millions more, and everybody says, no, we're not interested.
yeah, we are. But the last time, Larry, we just had gymnasiums, and we had a gymnastics center and gyms, and essentially a field house. It wasn't the pool, it wasn't the weight rooms, it wasn't the $58 million rec center that we had proposed 8 years ago. It was a much smaller facility and addressed what we thought were our immediate needs, and even it failed. So, I want to remind people we own one gym, and that is at Pioneer Park, and it's about 2/3 to 3/4 of the size of a real gym, to where my kids played when they were playing city rec basketball. You could only play the kindergartners in there. Beyond that, we're at the mercy of the school district, and we've had a good relationship with them in the past, but the demands on their facilities are even harder. Sometimes we can't get a gym till 8 or 8:30 at night. Well, if you're coaching elementary age kids, 8:30 at night to have practice is kind of light, sometimes. So we need gym space in the city that our rec programs can use.
Do we have facilities, Mark, or do we have the land?
Well, we've had the land. We're working on, we've finally decided we've saved some money and put money aside for that. And I think we're able to use some ARPA funds to build a gymnastics center and probably have some 4 volleyball, basketball courts along with that. And then if we build a field house, we'd still like to build a field house somewhere. Again, if you've coached soccer teams, Nick, when you were playing football in high school, it gets darn cold, in November when you're practicing. And I've had soccer kids out there looking like Pillsbury dough people, they're so padded. Because our late fall winters are not, in early spring, it's not conducive to outdoor sports. So if we did a field house, it'd probably have North Park is where we have land, or the new 100 acres at East Park.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and continue our conversation with City Council member from Ward 2, again running for re-election, Dr. Mark Rinne. We're back after these words right here on 1480 KRAE.
The West, the way you want it, Terry Bison Ranch.
You're invited to enjoy a holiday feast this Thanksgiving Day at the Senator Steakhouse at the Terry Bison Ranch. The menu from the hot entree station features herb roasted turkey, lemon rosemary grilled chicken, bison short ribs and barbecue sauce, and the fixins including mashed potatoes, gravy, along with green bean casserole. But wait, there's more. Stop by the many stations and fill up, including the breakfast station, serving delicious omelets and other goodies. The hand-carved station with roasted turkey, prime rib with au jus, and horseradish. Also, there's other stations featuring salads, shrimp and salmon, sweet and assorted breads and rolls, and most importantly, save room for their dessert station with pies, cakes, and cheesecakes. Remember, you can also enjoy $10 bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. Seating times are at 10:30, 12:30, 2:30, and 4:30 p.m. Call and reserve your spot today at 307-634-4171. It's $43.99 for adults, kids 5 through 12, $21.99, kids under 5 eat free. And there's a 10% discount for seniors and military. It's a remarkable Thanksgiving buffet this Thanksgiving Day at the Senator Steakhouse at the Terry Bison Ranch. Take exit 2 to the Terry Ranch Road.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart.
Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off.
Heather lays down her purchase, but Randy rings it up as slowly as he can.
Uh-oh.
Yep, she's looking at the cigarettes.
There's nothing good back there.
Heather's arm is in motion, but she just grabs the gum off the counter.
That's a slick move.
Even Randy tips his cap to Heather. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally wants you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
We are the key to your cleaning success. The Key People that provides affordable office and professional cleaning services for over 40 years with exceptional customer care. All of our contractors have background checks and are licensed and bonded. We guarantee you a safe and secure service that is tailored to your individual and business needs. The Key People do not impose year-long contracts, and all quotes are free, confidential, and personalized. Call the Key People at 1-800-468-8283. That's 1-800-468-8283.
Capital Lumber is number one in Cheyenne. Are you listening? We're all the lumber store you'll ever need. For electrical, plumbing, paint, and tools, lumber and hardware, we're for you. We're out to earn your business, yes indeed. Capital Lumber is number one today. Are you listening? Capital Lumber's at your service all the way.
Remember, for all your lumber and hardware needs, stop at the family-owned and operated Capital Lumber Company at 1222 Dunn Avenue in Cheyenne. Treat your taste buds to a warm bagel and Mort's Bagels with your favorite cream cheese. Perfect for the office or perfect at home. Mort's Bagels are always made fresh and delicious daily. They are perfect for breakfast and lunch too. Did I mention perfect? For 3 decades, Mort's has served us with amazing bagels and customer service. Ask about their specialty and seasonal selections too. They even deliver. Mort's Bagels. Treat yourself today. 1815 KRAE Avenue, downtown Cheyenne.
1480 KRAE is your home for live play-by-play coverage of high school basketball and football. To hear all the play-by-play calls of East, Central, and South football and basketball. You'll hear the conference action along with the postseason, and during the basketball season, 1480 KRAE features both boys and girls games. Catch all the exciting calls on AM 1480 KRAE, also streaming the games worldwide on the web at 1480krae.com.
As your life changes, so do your banking needs. At Platte Valley Bank, we offer a wide range of services for your individual banking needs, as well as solutions to help your business be successful. No matter how simple or complicated your financial needs, we have the products, knowledge, and resources to help you achieve financial success. Experience the difference. You belong here.
Platte Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
Weather-wise for today, mostly sunny and breezy. Expect a daytime high near 51, partly cloudy tonight, a low down to 31 degrees. For tomorrow, election day, sunshine. We're looking for a daytime high near 59. Mostly clear Tuesday night with a low down to 27. And for Wednesday, mostly sunny and breezy. We're calling for a daytime high near 46 degrees.
Welcome back to KRAE Reports, a week in review. Up on our desk here today is Dr. Mark Rinne, again vying for re-election City Council Ward 2. The question that's always, and I'm sure you probably have had this question more than I have, what are we going to do? And you were part of this this purchase when we took over the Belvoir Ranch. What plans, or is it just going to be a big chunk of land that we're just going to leave out there? Again, you know, I heard everything from, hey, let's put an airport out there and hotels. We can put recreation out there. Where do we stand with the Belvoir Ranch? You know, because sometimes I feel like, and this is me personally, I just feel like it bleeds the city.
Actually, Larry, it doesn't bleed the city with the 90+ windmills that we have out there, or our lease for out there. It now generates a little over $1 million a year for the city. But that's a great question. I was not part of the council. That was when the Belvoir was purchased, and the rationale was for water. And at the time, the state DEQ was telling us we were going to run out of landfill space and we couldn't expand the existing landfill. So we bought it to build a new landfill. Well, after a period of time, the state decided they did not want another brownfield location in the county, and they did let us expand our existing landfill. So we didn't need it for that. And we were really in pretty good shape for water until recently, so we really hadn't done much about that. We've tried to get access to the Big Hole, which I don't know if you've ever been out there, but it's north of the UP tracks, and it's kind of on the south of the UP tracks, and south of the main body of the ranch. But it's beautiful. I've gotten to take a tour out there a few years ago, and it's just a gorgeous natural area. You can get to it through Colorado because the southern part of it is like a Larimer County park. But you can't get to it from our side. And we have tried to get the UP. There are 2 areas that you can go underneath the railroad tracks that give us access. The UP has denied access always. We finally realized that if we build a pedestrian bridge over it, they can't deny that. So we have plans. The plans are sent out, being worked on now by the engineer designers to build a pedestrian bridge to give us access to the Big Hole, which is the most attractive part of that ranch. So we're hoping within the next year and a half, people will actually be able to get there from Cheyenne, not have to go all the way around through Colorado. As far as the rest of it's concerned, we're now Board of Public Utilities is looking at it for water development. We've all heard, we've all talked about if the Colorado River compact of the Colorado River really goes bad, we may have to, our water coming from stage 2 may be cut. So we have, Board of Public Utilities, matter of fact, I was in a meeting with them just recently, and they think that they can get at least 3,000 acre-feet of water a year off the Belvoir Ranch by drilling wells out there. So they are now proceeding with that and trying to address what could be, well, trying to keep us from having a water crisis. So the initial reason was water. We're now actually actively looking for water.
Let's talk about, and I brought this up to Pat, now being mayor, and again, you being on city council. And you mentioned some of the older buildings and stuff, and it goes back to the roundabout over here on Converse Pershing and on leading on to 20th, as well as coming off 19th. But let's talk about eminent domain. And again, you know, needing some land, the city said, hey, we got to have this, and, you know, you invoked eminent domain. Are there facilities, whether it is downtown Cheyenne, here, Del Range, out you know, even north, are there facilities that the city is looking at that, hey, we need to step in here and possibly improve?
Where it would require us to use eminent domain?
Yeah.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Have you heard? I mean,
No, I was just
yeah,
curious because
no.
I know, you know, again, the one question until it got sold was the hole, you know,
Yeah.
figuring the city was going to eventually take over that property, but
Well,
you got it sold.
we had it for a while, and then we gave it to Leeds, hoping that they could use it to market it with them. We can't. As a municipality, we really couldn't give it to anybody. We would have had to sell it. We would have had to declare it surplus and then sell it. So, but we were able to give it to Leeds, and so an organization like Leeds or the DDA could have used that to, you know, sweeten the pot on some kind of deal.
So if a building is abandoned downtown,
Yes.
now as a city council, and again, being part of this branch, do you go to that certain individual? Do you send letters to these individuals that, hey, you can't let this turn into blight?
Yeah, I looked into that a lot a few years ago and talked to some of the communities in the region that were our size. And the issue is, I mean, like, if you look at, the old building where we put the municipal court, escaping me, what was it?
Yeah.
It was the
Oh,
apartment-
Aziz.
Thank you,
Aziz
Larry.
Home
Thank you.
Furnishings, yeah.
If you look at the old Z's building, I mean, they had an absentee owner in California that since they lived in California, we really couldn't compel them to do anything with it, not even to seal it up. I mean, there were holes in the roof. It was a pigeon rookery. It had toadstools growing out of the carpets. And we could condemn it, and we could go in, and we could even tear it down. But it would be at our cost, and obviously we could attach a lien to it. But the lien, if that California owner ever sold it on that raw land, wasn't going to match what our we were never going to recover what our costs were to do that. So, from a financial standpoint, no. I mean, where we can, we try and encourage people. When you have an absentee landowner, our hands are somewhat tied on that. And again, most of the time, if we wanted to abate a building, it's at the city's expense, and oftentimes it was a losing dollar proposition on that. So we kind of tread lightly and slowly in those cases.
Mark, I want to get your thoughts on it. Again, you've been at least on board with the city council, especially during the pandemic times where we've seen an influx of people, again, from those major markets coming into Cheyenne. Again, we know that we do have that housing crisis that's been going on for quite some time right now, and hopefully will get solved here at least soon for the city of Cheyenne and get residents here in town. But, you know, again, we know also, too, businesses are looking to get out of these major markets and move. And again, we know that we have a few, at least coming into town, again, at least plans, especially out there by the Ice and Event Center, again, that little, at least complex out there. Are we starting to see that again, businesses are inquiring out to Cheyenne? Again, some major, at least names saying, hey, you got land. Let's take a look and see if we can settle down and bring some corporate headquarters or again, distribution centers here to
Right.
Cap City.
Yes, we are. We're seeing, I am in a meeting monthly with a group and usually there's a representative from Leeds in that, and they have seen an increase in inquiries ever since the pandemic, people wanting to get out of major metropolitan areas. And so yes, they're constantly fielding calls, and we have a lot of people looking at us. And again, if we've got we just changed the zoning on 2 sections of land south of here for what's going to be a major campus on another data center. We've kind of been discovered by them, and so a lot of that is our climate actually does help, because one of their biggest costs are cooling on all their computers. When our nighttime temperatures in the summer drop down in 55 or 60, their air conditioning costs are reduced as well. But to answer your question, Nick, yes, you talk to the folks at Leeds, they have seen a dramatic increase in at least inquiries about Cheyenne.
As this city expands and again is getting larger, and again, since I'm born and raised here in 1990, again seeing how it is here in 2022, it's been a vast and very rapid kind of at least expansion in the city. Let's talk infrastructure. Again, streets, roads, again, sewer pipes, again, we've seen a lot of construction going around town, again, improving bridges as well, too. Again, bridge going across I-80, getting that, at least construction done. What are your thoughts on infrastructure? Can it hold, or is it kind of satisfactory for the amount of people that are incoming to town?
So, infrastructure, at least when you talk infrastructure, I think first of all, sewer and water, and I mean that has managed to keep up, and I think we have, and I think they've done a great job of maintaining what we have. We have a high water quality, and our sewer system works well. Then beyond that, it usually comes part of infrastructure is streets. We were falling behind on streets a little bit. I think the fifth penny, which I know Larry you wanted to bring up later, generates $5 or $6 million a year for streets, maybe more than that. But that wasn't quite enough, so we have $14 million in this last 6 penny that's going to go to streets. And according to our city engineer, that was what was required to get all of our street system up to where it needed to be, and then again we could maintain it after that. I kind of resisted that because the 6 penny is a special use tax, and that's supposed to be for buildings and facilities that we cannot normally do otherwise, and that's allowed us to do some great things in the city. And my fear was once streets got in there, we'd never get them out, but I was promised that this was a one-time deal. And those are like a lot of things when people talk about infrastructure, but I've always thought, again, thinking more amenities, the Ice and Events Center, parks, golf courses, to me, those are infrastructure as well. And we need to keep expanding those. As I said, we've purchased with the last 6 penny, purchased 100 acres on the east side of town, out Pershing, and we now have we've just completed the master plan for it. And so I think in the next 6 penny, you'll probably see that we'll put some new facilities, start developing that next time around. But, it's great to have streets, but I always maintain and high quality streets, but you got to have somewhere you want to go to on those streets. So that's always been what I've advocated.
You talk facilities, and again, talk about expansion. We talk about the airport, where again, it's kind of landlocked here in town. Again, expanding the runway, and again, improve upon that. Also, through that construction project should be done by now. Again, with the runway.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see one more a little bit next spring, summer yet to finish that project.
Well, I guess my question for you, Mark, then again regarding the city is, have we grown too big for, again, the size of this, at least airport, again, as we try to make this city larger and, again, improve upon it? Have we outgrown our airport?
No, that you don't realize, as I said, I'm a private pilot. That east-west runway, that's 2 miles long. When you're driving, you don't necessarily realize that. That is a long runway and will handle almost, any type of aircraft. Having it in the middle of the city, yeah, the city's grown out around it. And years ago, there was some discussion about moving it. And to me, the ideal would have been if we could have moved it south of town, and then that would have, you know, been an easier drive-in for Greeley, Fort Collins, Loveland as well. The problem I learned when we researched it back then was that Cheyenne and the type of airport it has and having a tower and the length of the runway is all kind of grandfathered in. And if we were to move it, with Denver being the main regional airport, I don't know that we would be allowed to have as large a facility as what we currently have if we were to move it.
Mark, you've been a part of the city council through the good, and I guess I'll include the bad times.
I've been part of 3 RIFs.
And well, let's talk about the latest pandemic situation where, you know, city services and, you know, a little bit of everything got beat up a little bit because of the pandemic. And as we have slowly come out of it, and again, you know, you're more privy to the numbers than Larry is, even though I could, you know, sit down and go through it. But usually the train of thought was the city would have about a 3-month war chest, so to speak,
right,
in case of a major emergency.
Things went really bad.
So yeah, I guess give us a little bit of the state of the city from the city council point of view.
It's better. I mean, money's tight, and it probably will always be somewhat tight. But surprisingly, our 6 penny revenues, which is kind of a gauge of our economy, have in 2021 was higher generally than what 2019 was in that pre-pandemic year. And we thought we maybe saw 2 months drop off the table, and then I don't know if everybody's staying home, we're starting to do home improvement projects. But 6 penny revenues, sales tax revenues, started going up like in, you know,
well, we lost Frontier Days, and that had to be a big
yeah, we thought it'd be a terrible hit, but it was only maybe $150,000 down from what we normally got. So 2021 was better than 2019, and 2022 has been even better than 2021. So from a 5th, 6 penny standpoint, sales tax standpoint, we are doing fairly well. The last KRAE report, which is the consensus revenue estimating group that the state has, said that the state's revenues were way better than projected. So we're hoping that we can continue getting, I mean, when you look at our budget, half of it comes from the state of Wyoming. And so we're hoping that those will stay level, if not go up a little bit. So you're right. I've been through 3 dramatic downturns where we had to lay RIF people, or 1 year bought out some or promoted early retirement. And those have been hard. But it seems like Laramie County has bounced back pretty well.
Well, that's certainly good to hear. And something that I want to get into with you, Mark, that, again, we've mentioned a couple times, the phrasing 5th penny, at least tax upcoming on the ballot, again, voting tomorrow. Again, we encourage folks to get on out, again, do your civic duty, go out there, again, vote for all the elections on the ballot. But 5th penny tax is up. Why should folks keep that in play here in the city of Cheyenne? Why is it so important?
80% of the 5th penny goes to streets. That may be rounding. It might be 78%. But essentially 80%, 4/5 of that goes to street improvements. The other 20% has been used for, we bought police cars, police radios. We bought fire equipment with it. We bought some computers within the city to help better serve the populace. So really all of that comes back as a benefit to us. So if you know, we've talked about streets and we hear about infrastructure a lot, but if we're going to continue to upgrade police and fire service and some of their equipment, plus continue to upgrade our streets, we have to have the 5th penny. That's the only means we have to pay for some of those things.
Hit me with Amendment A. Let's talk about
Thank
that.
you. I was hoping we'd bring that up. This is the second time around on Amendment A. The first Amendment A was introduced when Governor Gordon was treasurer for the state of Wyoming. And what it did was liberalize how the state, cities and towns could invest their money. It was very restrictive before. And Amendment A passed, was approved by the voters, but subsequent to that, somebody, I don't know if it's the AG's office or what, determined that no, even though you thought it was going to apply to cities and towns, it only applies to the state. So the state, for the past several years, has been able to invest their monies in more in equities and not taking big risks. But the state has done very well with their investments, whereas cities and counties are still limited to the very restrictive rules that the state had to comply with years ago. As a result, we get virtually nothing on our what money we do have to invest. We're like the rest of us. We get, if we're lucky, we get, because we're talking more money than you and I are, we maybe get 1.5%, 2%. But it's really hurting us. Amendment A would allow counties and cities to apply the same guidelines or have the same guidelines applied to them that is currently applied to the state. It would be a way for us to increase our revenues and our investment revenues with virtually no impact on the voter.
Well, Mark, you have been a part of many resolutions, whether you were a sponsor or co-sponsor, that might have turned into an ordinance from time to time on your ventures with the city council. And like we did with your opponent, we're going to give you that last campaign stump. You get a chance to talk to Ward 2 voters, to ask them either to, most importantly, you're asking them to retain you as a city council member from Ward 2. And again, your look to the future.
Great. I think, first of all, I want to compliment my opponent. She's run a pretty high road campaign. The one thing she has criticized me for is just being around too long and saying it's time for new ideas. And I don't think that is a fair accusation. I mean, I don't live in a bubble. I'm a member of I'm a board member for the Wyoming Association of Municipalities. So I talk to mayors and council members all over the state. When we travel, I pick up ideas otherwise, talking to people. I always am seeing what works in other communities and what works and things that I think I can bring back to Cheyenne and work. So to say that I don't come up with new ideas, I don't think is a legitimate criticism. Going back to the start of when we started the interview, it's like I have really enjoyed being a city council member for Cheyenne and being part of Cheyenne and helping guide its direction. I have been a quality of life candidate from the very start. I think that, again, if we're going to attract new and better jobs, we need to have a reason that a CEO and more importantly, his wife and family want to move to Cheyenne. So we need to continue with beautification. We need to continue, as I said, with amenities and recreation, as well as working on streets and keeping and supporting police and fire and keeping us safe. I think we're doing all those things. I think I've been a good advocate for the city, and I think I've been a good advocate and representative for the city of Cheyenne as a whole, as well as for my ward. So yeah, I would say I think that Cheyenne is like, again, I was in a meeting with the Board of Public Utilities last week. I'm on one of their subcommittees, and they were talking about all the growth we're experiencing. And we have worked to make Cheyenne a more attractive place to live. And it's like this snowball that's slowly rolling downhill, and it is now really gaining momentum, and it's getting bigger. And you talk to the BPU and all the people, the requests that they have, all the work we have put in the past is coming to fruition, and I'm really excited about Cheyenne's future, and I want to continue to be a part of that for another 4 years.
All right, Dr. Mark Rinne joining us here on KRAE Reports, a Week in Review. I guess the only difference, Mark, you'd probably agree with me, since we've been around for a long time, the hair was a little dark when you first started on this.
Yeah. If you look at some of those old pictures, I thought, God, did he dye his hair back then?
Yeah, there's a lot of snow on the roof right now, or even on the chins. And I use the word chins for me. All right, Dr. Mark Rinne, again, running for re-election in City Council Ward 2 again. Please get out and do your constitutional right tomorrow. Get out and vote. Polls open beginning at 7 o'clock again, all over the city. Various places that you can get out and vote. There's no excuse for you not to vote for tomorrow. Thank you again to Dr. Mark Rinne. We're going to be back after we pay a few bills. You are listening to KRAE Reports, a Week in Review on 1480 KRAE.
For nearly 30 years, family-owned and operated Lennox Auto Body, along with the Auto Glass and Detail Center, has been serving our community with quality and customer satisfaction. It's a pretty simple drill. When you want it done right the first time, call Lennox Auto Body for an appointment at 307-634-6608. Lennox Auto Body at 1020 Dunn Avenue. And the Auto Glass and Detail Center. Remember, it's not clean until it's Lennox clean at 617 East Pershing Boulevard.
Lennox Auto Body. No shortcuts, no compromise.
Hop into the KRAE Time Machine each Monday through Thursday for the golden age of radio, featuring famous radio classics such as Jack Armstrong and Suspense Theater, along with pioneers in the entertainment industry like Bob Hope and Abbott and Costello, along with many other performers who've captured our ears many, many years ago. Join us for the golden age of radio Monday through Thursday, 8 until 10 p.m. on 1480 KRAE, also 101.1 FM, and you can also stream all of our programming on 1480krae.com.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one-stop to shop for these super radio buys heard only right here. Exotico Tequila, Blanco or Reposado, 750 milliliter bottle, $15.99. Nikolai Vodka, 1.75-liter bottle, $8.59. And White Claw Seltzers, 12-pack, 12-ounce cans, all available varieties, $15.99. Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low-price leader.
Whatever the adventure, the new 2022 Kia Sorento can help you get there. I'm AJ Miller for Kia of Cheyenne. Let us show you the impressive value of a new Kia. The 2022 Kia Sorento will provide all-weather performance with available all-wheel drive, a turbo engine, ample seating and cargo space, and one of the best warranties in the business. Come into Kia of Cheyenne, call 775-0123 or go to kiaofcheyenne.com, and we'll make it easy.
When you are dealing with the coin shop to buy, sell, or trade your gold, silver, or other precious metals, you will be met with honesty, fairness, knowledge, and exceptional customer service. The coin shop has been serving Cheyenne since 1982 and is a respected member of our community. Call David today at 778-7196 to meet privately or visit during regular business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. The coin shop, a dealer you can trust, 510 West 16th Street.
For over 30 years and still delivering the results you expect is Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service. Larry Perotti again for cars in downtown Cheyenne, reminding you that John and his staff are there to take care of your vehicle's woes. From an oil change and replacing windshield wipers to digging deep into fixing your heating and your air conditioning unit or fixing your brakes and shocks, you can depend on Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service for taking care of most minor repairs. And most importantly, John is a TechNet professional, which says he is one of the best nationally when it comes to getting your car or truck back on the road as soon as possible. Check it out online, technetprofessional.com. Don't wait till the last minute. Have your vehicle serviced by one of the best in Cheyenne. Cheyenne Auto Repair and Service at 604 West Lincoln Way. Call for an appointment at 307-632-0498. Open Monday through Friday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
So today's your 18th birthday? Hey, Bobby, pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. I've got my whole life ahead of me. School, then a job. I've been waiting for this day forever.
And when will you be registering with Selective Service?
What? Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'll get around to it someday.
Someday?
Yeah, you know, like, whenever I get around to it, like, I don't know.
Well, Bobby, if you don't register with Selective Service within 30 days of your 18th birthday, you can lose out on college loans, job training, and government jobs. And then you'll be, you know, like out of luck.
Bobby, where are you going?
I'm just gonna get online for a minute, then I'll be right back.
To register with Selective Service, log on to www.sss.gov or stop by your local post office.
There. Are you happy now?
Very.
Capital Lumber is lumber one in Cheyenne. Are you listening? We're all the lumber store you'll ever need. For electrical, plumbing, paint, and tools, lumber and hardware, we're for you. We're out to earn your business, yes indeed. Capital Lumber is lumber one today. Are you listening? Capital Lumber's at your service all the way.
Remember, for all your lumber and hardware needs, stop at the family-owned and operated Capital Lumber Company at 1222 Dunn Avenue in Cheyenne.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
Weather-wise for today, mostly sunny and breezy. Expect a daytime high near 51, partly cloudy tonight, a low down to 31 degrees. For tomorrow, election day, sunshine. We're looking for a daytime high near 59. Mostly clear Tuesday night with a low down to 27. And for Wednesday, mostly sunny and breezy. We're calling for a daytime high near 46 degrees.
This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
It's time now for something new for you. It's KRAE Reports, a week in review. Now let's check in with our program right here on 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
And again, a reminder, tomorrow, Election Day. So again, get out and perform your constitutional right to make your voice heard. And again, polls open beginning at 7 a.m. and will be open till 7 p.m. One of our candidates that is running for the U.S. House race, Lynette Grable, joins us. She is on the Democratic side. And Lynette, thank you so much for joining us. And as we do with all our candidates, let's get the Lynette Grable resume and tell us a little bit about yourself so we can introduce you to our listeners.
Yes. Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking the time to have me. I'm always so honored and privileged to be able to share bits and pieces of who I am and the work that I've done and, how I would like to, represent the state. So again, thank you so much for this opportunity. Yes, my name is Lynette Grable. I live here on the Wind River Reservation in the heart of Wyoming. I am both Northern Arapaho, which is my mother's tribe here at Wind River Reservation, and I'm also Lakota from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe from my father's side. But I have, ancestral and historic ties to Wyoming on both sides of my family. As some of you may know, Grable, Wyoming is a town where my last name has derived from. And so I share a unique tie and connection to Wyoming because both sides of my family and my ancestors have been in this land for hundreds of years, as has been told to me. So, to be in this modern day and age to, have a vision and have a mission for people, to represent people, to represent their concerns and the hardship that they face, it's really unique for me to be in this space to run for U.S. House in our beautiful state. And, I've been to a lot of states that my work has sent me all over this nation, and I can say that we have probably the most beautiful state in our country, and I'm always happy to put Wyoming on the map, so to speak. So that's some background information as far as who I am and where I come from. However, I have a long history in advocacy work. I've probably spent a good 10 years advocating I started to do advocacy work for women and children. A bulk of my work has been focusing on the protection of children. I've worked with law enforcement quite a number of years. I've worked as a victim advocate for about 7 years. I've worked with homeless youth and homeless families for a good part of about 7-8 years from different, entities like United Way and some other churches that I used to partner with. So I've done a lot of work with working with people and working with people in society who hasn't had either a fair share in life because of their family background or just coming from a marginalized community and of all races. And I've done a lot of work. A bulk of my work and consulting work has been in training and education. I am a public speaker on various different topics, of course, Indian country issues being one of the main ones, but I've done other ones as child protection, domestic violence against women, and child sex trafficking and human trafficking, both sex trafficking and labor trafficking. This kind of work has always led me to lobby for legislation to protect women and children. I've done this on a state level. I've done this on a federal level as well. I think some of the bigger bills and federal legislation that I lobbied on was the Savannah's Act, Not Invisible Act. But I also testified in 2019 on Capitol Hill on the Tribal Heritage and Grizzly Bear Protection Act, which at the time Representative Cheney was kind of upset that the bill was able to that federal legislation was able to get passed, and she said that for us that were advocating for that bill said that we were ruining the Western way of life, which I thought it was really funny, being that Native Americans are indigenous to this country. However, I am a director and a founder of my nonprofit called Not Our Native Daughters, based here on the Wind River Reservation. The bulk of my work there is to advocate for missing, murdered Indigenous women and girls and persons. I've done a lot of work not only just in policy-wise to raise the protection of Indigenous people overall. We have a lot of jurisdictional loopholes and issues throughout Indian country when it comes to crime on the reservation and crime against Native Americans off the reservation. So I spend a lot of time and work kind of advocating for that. I think one of the things that I'm able to do that I see throughout my career is that I'm able to build bridges through people and partners, both on the federal and nonprofit side, NPO, NGO side of the reservation. I like building community. I believe that me as a Wyomingite and me just as a citizen, it's my call and my duty to promote community well-doing and well-being for everybody, not just for Native Americans.
I was going to interject, at least Lynette, where again, at least an impressive resume, and again, a lot of nonprofit work of what you've done here for the state of Wyoming. And again, we'll get into, again, Liz Cheney, and also to talk a little bit about your opponent on the other side, again, Harry Hageman, as the general election, again, coming up tomorrow, and again, for the seat in the U.S. House representing the state of Wyoming. But I wanted to very just quickly interject, at least Lynette, where earlier in your conversation, as again, you are campaigning just as your opponents are, again, for this seat, again, represent the state of Wyoming. You mentioned concerns, and again, you've traveled across from every corner, again, all the way middle part of the state, again, here in Cheyenne. I want to get your thoughts, or what have you been hearing from the people out here in the state of Wyoming are the main concerns facing Wyomingites, and something that if you're elected to this position, what you'll try to do to kind of help all citizens here in the state of Wyoming?
Right. I think you can take from my resume that I'm definitely a strong advocate and voice for the working class, the middle class, which I also derive from. I think it's important that we promote equality and a fair share of a pursuit of happiness for those of us who are 8-to-5 workers and who are hard workers and keeps the backbone of this country economic system moving forward. But another thing I would like to bring to light, and I talk to both Republican women and Democratic women on this issue, and of course that is a woman's right to choose. And that's a sticky topic. I understand, because there's people who have ideas from both sides and how they feel, and Roe versus Wade being overturned. And one of the things I share is that, especially with women I've talked to across the state, both in person and people who just contacted me, is that because I'm a big advocate for the protection of women, all color, all ages. It's important that I want people to understand that, my work as a victim advocate and my work as a mentor towards youth is that, anytime that I was ever faced with a young woman having to make a decision of abortion, politics was never on the forefront of my mind. At that moment, it was just me, being able to speak life to this young person's life and making a decision and giving them options to the options of keeping their child or moving towards abortion. And so, I'm happy to say that I supported women in both decisions. I walked women through both pathways of keeping their children or going the other route. And so I want Wyoming to understand that I am a person who weighs things out. I'm not a person who goes from the extreme to the left or the right. I believe that as a representative and as somebody who is in a place of leadership and politics, that everything should be weighed out. And I'm not an extremist. I'm more of a moderate than anything. I believe it's any representative duty who's elected to office to comb through the fine worded, especially when it comes to legislation, to understand the differences and understand the impacts of the constituents that they're representing. And so that is very important for Wyoming. I want Wyoming to understand about myself. But however, I've talked to Republican women who support a women's right to choose due to medical issues or just things in their own history. But it's very important that I want Wyomingites to know that I'm here to support their best interests. And I can say honestly that Republican women have told me they were voting for me due to just one topic right here, and that is the women's right to choose.
Lynette Grable joining us, Larry Perotti, along with Nick Perotti. Lynette, you ran in 2020 unsuccessfully. Here it is, 2022. Again, there are a variety of issues, obviously, that are different from 2020. Tell us a little bit, campaign, how you are structuring your campaign differently than you did in 2020, or are you coming out with the same message?
No, I think you're right. I think it's very different from 2020. 2020, we were in the heart of the pandemic, so I wasn't able to get out to each county. I'm glad to say that I was able to go to a lot of meet and greets and a lot of other different events across the state. I'm a people person, so I love to be in person. I love to connect with people. I love to be bombarded with questions. I think that communication is what leads to understanding. And I want to understand the people of Wyoming, whether they're my party affiliation or not. So, yes, this campaign has been very different due to COVID. Last time I was kind of cut off from doing that. But, meeting with people throughout Wyoming, learning their stories. I've heard a lot of medical stories. I've heard a lot of other stories of where legislation or policy impacted their family. It helps me build a better understanding and a better vision on how I would like to and want to represent Wyoming.
Lynette, if elected, and one of the things, again, whether you have a D or an R by your name, really doesn't matter because, we are one representative for 530,000 plus citizens here in Wyoming. But it seems like the issues that we have in Wyoming probably negate, I know you mentioned women's rights, but I mean, I look at oil, gas, minerals, everything else, things that are concerning Wyomingites as well. Again, whether it's a D or an R that represents us in Washington, D.C., it seems like there is just so much to fight for here in the Cowboy State.
Yeah, I agree. And, I'll be the first person to say, and I have family who works in the oil and gas industry. So I've also got to be careful because I represent them too. So I take all of this in consideration. But, I'll be the first one to say, Wyoming is in no position to just cut off the oil and gas and coal industry overnight. I do believe it's a just transition. It's a process, but we have to look at the numbers. I like statistics. I like research, and the numbers from the oil and gas and coal industry continue to decline for Wyoming. I've spoken to families that had to move out of Wyoming in order to keep their jobs, families who lost their mortgages, lost their way of life and their livelihood. And I don't think that Wyoming, we should be in a position to keep the families and Wyomingites here and not having to be in a position where they're moving out of state to keep a job. Families and their livelihoods is very important to me. And I have to consider that when I think about the oil and gas industry. I do believe that there could be a 5, 10, 20-year plan that can help navigate Wyoming into transitioning into, solar panel or wind turbine and clean energy. It's the way the whole world is moving towards. So whether Wyoming partakes into green energy or transitioning into renewable energies is something the whole world is moving towards. I do believe, and I have a vision that Wyoming can continue to be the leader in energy and moving towards just transition into renewable energies by taking the lead on this and really looking ahead for Wyomingites. We're the least populated state. We don't want to lose our families. We don't want to lose our Wyomingites. Let's keep them here and let's keep them working. And we can do that by developing and creating a 5, 10, 20-year plan.
Lynette, as you talk about, again, at least for our gas, oil, and coal industries here in the state, again, trying to move into kind of, at least transition into greener energy here within the state of Wyoming. Let's get into kind of at least looking ahead of the future. If you are elected into this position, and again, we kind of at least summarize the president's first 100 days, again, kind of judge on what it's going to be like. For your first 100 days, if you are elected to this position, what are kind of the things that you want to tackle immediately for the state of Wyoming, whether it is regarding our industries, whether it is infrastructure here in the state, whether it is, making sure that we have, again, women's rights and protections at least in place. What's kind of your vision, your future, once you get at least within the doors there in Washington, D.C.?
I think everything that you had mentioned would be a good highlight for me in the first 100 days. Obviously, being a natural advocate for women and children, of course, I would move forward in the protection of a woman's right to choose, but also because we are the least populated state, my heart and mission in that type of work would be for economic development. There's a lot of other bills that didn't get passed these past couple years that could promote rural economic development, which Wyoming would have benefited from. One of those things were the broadband expansion in rural areas. There has been some funding allotted to that, but again, Wyoming was not able to partake in that. And I do believe with the whole issues with the universal or the Medicaid issue that we had here in Wyoming, the federal government could have allotted more money for the state of Wyoming and fix a lot of issues for Wyoming, the state of Wyoming, to choose Medicaid for their residents. That was another thing I thought was crucial. I don't blame the state for not moving forward with Medicaid. I believe the blame was on the federal part, where they could have allotted more funds for us to do the things that we needed to do with Medicaid and do Medicaid expansion sufficiently in a place where it wouldn't make the state go bankrupt. So those are the things that I think about when I think about Wyoming: critical economic development, infrastructure, getting expanded and progressive for rural areas and rural states like ours, and then of course the women's right to choose. And let me just say this, in any political realm, we always have issues that come up. What might be true today in the news today could be totally different next month. But I am somebody who is able to tackle things. I am a person who is able to get the feedback from others and make a decision that is full of integrity and what's honest and what's true and what's just. And again, it doesn't go with party affiliation. It goes with rights for people, everyday people. I believe all policies should lead back to people and families.
Lynette, you mentioned something that's very prevalent here, that we're in different times in the year 2022, especially on the political side. One of the nice things I like hearing out of you is that, you're not afraid to lean over and shake hands with somebody that is an R, DNRs, especially here in Wyoming. I think we all pretty much feel the same way. How do you express your middle of the road stance? And I'm going to throw that out there, your middle of the road stance. How do you express that to, if elected, those that have seemed to gone further away from your party, that have gotten a little more extreme? How do you kind of reel them in a little bit, or are you just like one fish in the big river?
You know what? I have a lot of Republican friends, especially those who are, or even House districts across the state, and I have other Republican friends in policy out the state. So, actually, I don't see the party differences. I actually quite enjoy having conversations from other people that have different opinions or differences of mine, because it helps me understand. So I'm gonna share a little tactic with you that I do when I'm lobbying. And most of the time when I'm lobbying in the state of Wyoming or on a federal level, I'm lobbying Republicans to get their buy-ins. And so when I schedule to meet with them, or if I'm able to have a conversation with them, or I pull them out of the legislative floor, one of the things I do is I call it the table of understanding. I'm trying to pull them to the table of understanding, get their ear for a minute, help them, take away these ideas, or, maybe these things, it's us against them. I think I have a really good tactic on doing that, because I think that every elected official deserves dignity and respect. I always shake their hand. I always thank them for their service. And, I express what I need to express. to show them that I do respect them. And I think that takes away a lot of that, oh, this is a Democrat person, or this is a Native person, or, all of that is out the window. And then we're able to have a conversation. And most times I like to say that we have accomplished and successfully had heart-to-heart conversations across the aisle. And it really just goes back to this. I appeal to people's leadership because I think people run for office because they want to do the right thing for people. They want to do right things for families and their neighbors and their county and their state. And they just want to do the right thing. This is what compels me to pursue leadership in various different ways, because I just want to create that change. So I try to appeal to their leadership, and the reason why they even ran for office in the first place, to get their buy-in. And that's how I do it. I show respect. I'm honest. I'm transparent. And I give them a story about that legislative bill that comes from a family who had to struggle in it, and I just bring it to the human side. And this is how I see politics. This is my vision on how to create that type of change, especially for us in Wyoming.
Lynette, I want to get your opinion on a situation. We've talked with various candidates, whether local level or, again, statewide as well, too, and, again, with yourself. But, again, we look towards the primary, or at least back to the primary election, especially regarding the U.S. House seat, where it was a nationally televised, it was a worldwide watched event between the battle between Harriet Hageman and, again, Liz Cheney. And a lot of folks, especially here in this state, said, hey, that was pretty much the general election, and kind of awarded already Harriet Hageman that seat already. Again, voter turnout, especially with the primaries as heated as they were here in the state of Wyoming from all various levels, is there worry, or is it something that your campaign kind of could see as taking advantage of voter turnout coming up tomorrow night, or at least tomorrow in general? Is there any concern, at least what are your thoughts on it?
You know what, looking at, again, I'm a numbers person, looking at numbers and midterm election turnout in the state of Wyoming. Wyoming has one of the least numbers of midterm election turnout. However, we know we had the big, Cheney versus Hagerman battle in the primaries. A lot of Democrats switched over to Republicans to try to protect and, get Cheney back in there. And that was an honorable move because of her service in the January 6th committee. But, again, I think that with the numbers being what they are in our midterms, 18 to 30-year-olds have the lowest voter turnout in the state of Wyoming. And people who are registered to vote, a good percentage of them don't show up to vote in midterm elections. So, I guess we'll see what will happen tomorrow. But I do believe that people who want to do the right thing, people who want to have solid and honest representation in the state of Wyoming will make their choice. I hope that Republicans and other party affiliations will consider me to represent them, because I plan to do it with all honesty and transparency. Again, I'm not here to widen the divide, but I'm here to represent a state who needs really good representation, and representation who represents the middle class and the hardworking class and the infrastructure, and he just knows all of the issues that we face here on a ground or grassroots level. And, for Hagerman, I think it's a really disservice of her to not show up to the Wyoming PBS debate that she was invited to. I believe that she believes that she can walk into this seat without, any confrontation of that. I believe she feels like she doesn't have to win Wyomingites' vote. I think it was a disservice, and I think it was cowardly not to show up to the Wyoming PBS debate. I had a lot of questions that I wanted to ask her and, speak about. If anybody looked at my campaign, I have not, attacked her in any way other than her not showing up to the debate. But one thing I can say about Representative Cheney, or former Representative Cheney, is that at least she showed up to debate. At least we were able to have a cordial debate, and we could talk about what we envisioned for Wyoming. And I believe Wyoming deserved that.
Well, Lynette, we wish you all the best. And again, we encourage all Wyoming voters to head to the polls beginning at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, polls open at 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. Good luck to you in your quest to become our U.S. representative from the state of Wyoming.
Very quickly, Lynette, as well, too, do want to at least give you this opportunity as well, too, to our viewers and listeners here on 1480 KRAE, especially here in the city of Cheyenne. If they are interested in more information as they prepare to at least vote tomorrow, especially here in the Cap City, where can folks find you? Social media, website? Let's talk about where they can get more information about you.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, you can go to graybullforcongress.com to learn more. Graybullforcongress.com on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So I'm on all those different social media outlets. And again, thank you, Wyoming. Thank you for taking the time to listen. No matter what your party affiliation is, I'm here to represent you in all honesty and integrity. But thank you guys so much for your time and your willingness to interview me.
Lynette Graybull joining us here on 1480 KRAE. KRAE Report, so we can review. We'll be back after this. Your locally owned and operated radio stations, KYOI FM and 1480 KRAE AM, are just that, local, serving Cheyenne and Laramie County, where your advertising dollar stays local too. It doesn't end up in Colorado, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, or even New York. We conduct business here, we shop here, and we live here. And we support our entire community 24/7, 365. Just because it has a window dressing doesn't mean it isn't a facade. A reminder from KYOI and 1480 KRAE.
At the Cheyenne Regional Cancer Center, we take a caring, comprehensive approach to cancer treatment and prevention. To best serve your needs, we provide chemotherapy, radiation oncology, and infusion treatments, as well as the quality care, resources, and support you need from one warm, welcoming location that's close to home. For more about our compassionate approach to cancer care and prevention, visit CheyenneRegional.org/cancer.
It's Lee at Absolute Flooring. Are you planning on new flooring soon but are hesitating due to the latest financial news? Let Absolute Flooring help you out. With a great selection of all types of flooring and a large array of styles and colors, plus our commitment to make your purchase the most affordable, it's time to stop in at Absolute Flooring. And with no interest financing in place, why not make your way now to 3573 East Lincoln Way and visit us at AbsoluteFlooringWIO.com. Remember, it's always your home, your floor, your store. Absolutely.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one-stop to shop for these super radio buys heard only right here. Exotico Tequila, Blanco or Reposado, 750 milliliter bottle, $15.99. Nikolai Vodka, 1.75-liter bottle, $8.59. And White Claw Seltzers, 12-pack, 12-ounce cans, all available varieties, $15.99. Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low-price leader.
Wisdom, expertise, compassion, qualities that are the foundation of Cheyenne Urological, with their experienced doctors and their highly trained staff providing top-quality treatment for prostate cancer, urinary tract infections, kidney stones, impotence, and incontinence. You can trust Cheyenne Urological to give you the highest quality urinary care. Now offering the latest in robotic surgery, call Cheyenne Urological at 635-4131. That's 635-4131.
For almost 60 years, 1480 KRAE has been Cheyenne's home for good times and great oldies. Add to that live play-by-play sports featuring high school football and basketball, along with LCCC men's and women's basketball. Now combo that with KYOI FM and you have Cheyenne and the area's only locally owned AM and FM radio stations. But we don't stop there. We also have 2 FM translators which serve the area with programming from both KRAE and KYOI. And that equals a lot of bang for your advertising dollar. Radio yesterday and now today, along with our websites, web streams, and digital ventures, makes us your one-stop shop. For more information, please call Larry Proetti at 307-637-0301.
Chase a new adventure with a new Kia. I'm A.J. Miller for Kia of Cheyenne, and the all-new 2023 Kia Sportage is built for the rugged road with available multi-terrain all-wheel drive. Other available options include X-Pro trims, LED lighting, and advanced technologies like the 12-inch dual panoramic display. With Kia, get one of the best warranties in the business. Come into Kia of Cheyenne, call 775-0123 or go to KiaofCheyenne.com, and we'll make it easy.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 KRAE.
Weather-wise for today, mostly sunny and breezy. Expect the daytime high near 51, partly cloudy tonight, a low down to 31 degrees. For tomorrow, election day, sunshine. We're looking for a daytime high near 59. Mostly clear Tuesday night with a low down to 27. And for Wednesday, mostly sunny and breezy. We're calling for a daytime high near 46 degrees.
We get into our closing moments of our program, KRAE Report, so we can review. I do want to invite you to join us tomorrow between 11 and 1. We'll talk some sports on the Pro Show, yours truly, along with Nick Perotti.
As we'll size it up very quickly, guest-wise, again, we will talk with head coach Cheyenne East, head coach Chad Goff, as he prepares for the Class 4A state title game against Sheridan. We will also talk with Will Gray, Pine Bluff's head coach, as he prepares for the Class 1A 9-man state championship against Shoshone. Again, both of those games happening this Saturday, 1 and 4 p.m. games that we will have here live, 1480 AM, 101.1 FM, 1480KRAE.com on the audio side, and video live streaming. Again, it won't be of the game, but again, we'll offer a video, at least alternative to listen, basically, and watch the graphics, again, of the at least state title games on the 1480KRAE YouTube channel, which, again, you can subscribe, go like all our videos. Again, again, you're watching, at least hopefully, KRAE Reports, and also the Pro Show coming up tomorrow. So again, looking forward to that. Also, do want to mention other guests. Burns Bronx head coach Travis Ramsa, and I do believe again working on head coach Mike Apodaca for Cheyenne Central. So it's going to be pretty heavy of high school football. As again, we're at the final weekend of high school football.
And I'll have both calls of those games for you, and kind of nice to, now that we've done a couple of Pine Bluffs games, you kind of put away the cheat sheets, and you know the kids pretty much by the number they're wearing. Also, too, we'll have Cheyenne East right after that. Do want to thank some of our friends already from Pine Bluffs. We haven't been able to get to the phones because we've been pretty busy this morning, but some of our friends over in Pine Bluffs are already wanting to be a part of our sponsorship of the state championship game. So, again, that'll be at War Memorial Stadium in Laramie. Again, you'd like to be a part of our sponsorship as well of both games, feel free to give us a call, 307-637-0301. All right, real quick, last week we were talking about a possible diesel shortage. Now we're talking about a strike concerning our rail workers. And again, you knew, and I'm sorry to say, even though the election is tomorrow, and again, too, you try to be down the middle. And again, once Joe Biden has stuck his nose into anything, it seems to have been disaster. Well, Biden brokered this deal between the rail workers, the labor unions, and I mean, this thing's blown up in his face in September. He brokered that deal in September, and now we're looking at one group talking about going on strike as early as the 19th, if I'm not mistaken, of this month. And that'll be followed by yet another strike of other members in December. That's a total of 110,000 rail workers in an industry that has already been hit by not layoffs, but by those that have left the profession.
And let's clarify again, it's not 110,000 workers here in the state of Wyoming. Again,
No,
it's across all, again, various rail, at least positions, which, again, is going to hit here potentially in the state of Wyoming. Again, they're anticipating November 19th. Again, the issue is just with the brokering of the deal. Again, it sounds like, again, they're looking for, again, as a lot of people are, especially in these times of, again, inflation and just high costs and everything, especially with those industries kind of taking a step back, as, again, we talk with Lynette Graybull, again, the focus to green energy to kind of step away from coal, the mining industries that, again, are major here in the state of Wyoming. But it sounds like, again, it's these workers, and again, rightfully so, hey, with the uncertainty of their job future, want the most bang for their buck right now.
Well, and also, too, vaccine mandates. Throw that out there as well, too. Some of the industry was requiring vaccines, and there's those out there. And again, in all professions, Nick, not everybody wants to get a vaccine. So they left. So there are a lot of positions still to fill. Here in Wyoming, coal is still a huge industry. And Washington, D.C., trying to broker away from the coal, as you mentioned, go green. But you know what? You're still going to need coal, fossil fuels for a length of time. And our rail service, especially here, UP, the BNSF, hauls a lot of coal across the country. And a strike right now, think about shutting down the rail industry. And I'm not talking about a shortage of diesel fuel, whatever the case may be. I'm talking about a shutdown of the rail industry is going to paralyze this country.
Well, especially where these industries, whether it's coal mines or again in the rail industry, again, has all aspects of, again, jobs in this country, if not the world, are again dealing with labor shortages. It seems like coal and again the rail industry is being hit as hard, if not even harder than most. Where again, especially here in the state, we're producing more and more coal that is getting transported on those rails. Well, again, there's not enough to meet those needs and meet those standards, and right now it's kind of a breaking point. So again, if this strike is to happen, it's gonna, who knows, it might become very disastrous. It might up prices, especially as now here we hit wintertime. Again, we talk about gas, we talk about heating, again, diesel, who knows? Again, there's a lot of industries that easily can be affected by this. You worry, though, if this strike comes to fruition, that we're already in a bad inflation time. How much worse could it get now?
Fruition. Here's the deal. I think a lot of it for the rail industry, and you're going to look at me and probably roll your eyes, I think a lot of it hinges on tomorrow. And again, the predictions for one side to have this big wave happening tomorrow, again, they are all about labor, this, that, and the other thing.
No, I don't think it stems on the election.
I think it does.
Because again, presidential election is not happening tomorrow.
But also, too,
this is, again, stemming from, again, it's Biden's administration. So, again, it's something that Congress is not going to be able, or again,
they can override
they might help upon, but again, who knows?
Yeah, and this is just it. I think you're going to get a good indication, hopefully by midnight tomorrow, of which way the country is turning. I do believe that some progress has been made on the right side. I think the left has kind of gone a different route. Again, they're really pushing green, but they're also in the process of pushing green, forgetting about those that are currently employed in the fossil fuels market. That where are they going to go? They keep saying, yeah, we'll transfer you over to green, but it doesn't work that way. So I think a shift in the country's philosophy and against some of the Biden agenda may come to a complete halt with tomorrow's vote.
But like I said, this is a multitude of issues right now, again, facing the coal and, again, rail industries right now, whether it is labor shortage, whether it is pay rates, it's, again, production, as well, too, as that kind of increases as well. Also, too, testing standards. It seems like that's also, too, the big issue right now is that to get within these positions, again, standards are a little bit higher than what, again, most who are applying for these positions are capable of. So that's also to the issue, is kind of alleviating that so we can address this need. So again, that kind of stems from, again, these labor boards, these labor unions, and also too with the administration to see if we can relax some of these standards to get, again, addressed and get these folks who want to get in but can't, to get them finally in that position, or at least get them a job.
It's interesting, talking about UP, the rail industry. Here in our region, UP is primed right now to, hire 1,400 additional crew members? And now think about it, too. You're going through that process, Nick. There's a possibility you get hired, and you guys could, and again, I'm throwing out a really extreme instance. You get hired, but you're on strike before you even get a chance to go through the training process. So,
like I said, this, if it happens, and again, there's no indication yet, or at least the rumblings are there. But again, November 19th, we will see if that does actually happen. But if it is to happen, as again, we are dealing with, again, all sorts of issues right now, and especially for an industry that matters most here in the state of Wyoming, or at least matters a lot. This could be disastrous, I think, nationwide, but including here in the Cowboy State. And we have to see, again, where does Governor Gordon kind of come in to step up, or again, our representatives, again, Barrasso, Lummis, again, we are out one right now. Again, Liz Cheney's kind of that sitting duck right now, where again, she's on her way out.
Lame duck.
Either way, who cares? But either way, though, again, where are those entities at right now to kind of prevent this, or at least say, hey, help us? We need to figure this out before it becomes disastrous, which, again, I think not only affects nation, if not worldwide, but I think this is going to hit, if it does happen, Very hard.
Well,
here in Wyoming.
what you need, and I'm going to be very blunt about this, especially in Washington D.C. You don't need scholars negotiating this anymore. You need somebody that's an actual rank and file that's actually worked for a paycheck in their life to negotiate this. Because again, you got to listen to both sides. All right. Here's the
you got to come to an agreement. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's meet somewhere in the middle. No one wants to meet in the middle anymore. Again, we've had this conversation, especially on the politics side. It's either my way or it's the highway.
Well, again, that's the issue with politics right now. Is that, again, it's a team sport, and it's my way or it's nothing at all. So again, that's the issue that we're facing with, and like I said, hopefully this situation gets solved. Again, it's not a crisis yet, but it could be. Again, we will see in the middle of the month.
Hopefully next week we come back with some positive news. Want to wrap it up here today on our program. I know we got a few minutes left, and I have been asked this question, and I did some follow-up, but there's some things I can't release, and I'm not going to because, again, I not so much I was sworn to secrecy or anything like that, but it was like I'm not going to divulge this until it becomes public.
How about just plain and simple out of respect?
But it will become public here shortly. The incident that happened Halloween night, and my first question was too, like everybody else's. First off, why do it Halloween night when there are a lot of kids out and about? Which there were on Halloween night. It was a relatively nice night, but in this particular part of the county.
And let's specify that, again, this is on the local side, again, happening here, again, Cheyenne, kind of east side of Cheyenne, at least kind of Laramie County. So, again, an incident that, again, a lot of us know about, but to fill in, again, at least suspect who, again, was killed. Again,
he was served a warrant.
Served a warrant, or I'll let you at least.
He was served a warrant, and then shots were exchanged between deputies and the suspect. A deputy was injured, and good news about the deputy is recovering nicely from his wound. So that's the positive news. The suspect was shot and killed.
And make note that, again, those were the only two incidents. Outside of that, again, no one else was injured or, again, at least shot dead, at least during this incident. So, again, it was just involving the deputy, the Laramie County Sheriff's Office, and, again, the at least suspect. So, at least good news on that no one else got caught in the crossfire.
Well, and again, to the current sheriff declined to say what the warrant was for, nor did he want to comment on why a warrant was being served on Halloween night. So, again, first off, one of our deputies was injured in this, so that's not a good thing. But again, according to CRMC, he is recovering well from his wounds. But, you sit here and there's a lot of questions, and again, with questions comes speculation. Well, you don't want to speculate on anything. But again, I'm like Joe Citizen too, not just because I'm behind a microphone. My first question was, why was this done in the heart of the evening, Halloween night? And again, there are so many blanks that need to be filled, and I guess the Laramie County Sheriff's Department are going to fill in those blanks when they feel the time is appropriate. But the bottom line is, warrant was served on the suspect. Suspect and law officers, got involved in a shootout where a deputy was injured and the suspect was killed at the scene. Again, not describing how he was killed at the scene. Again, that is another one of those blanks that need to be filled. I don't know when a report's going to come out, Nick. I can't give you any idea.
I don't think Halloween has anything to do with it, or again, I don't think that should be the mainstay or focus on this incident of when this warrant was served. Again, it's something that, hey, first time you have an availability or the suspect's at home, go right ahead and get him. So again, it just happened. I would assume from the Laramie County Sheriff's Office, hey, Halloween just happened to be the day.
Well, the warrant has to be signed by a judge. So, county judge.
And again, that takes time. And again, that's something that, deputies, police officers, again, we've talked with them. Again, that's kind of the issue of you got to wait on those above you to kind of give you that go ahead and do this. So I think it was just more so of, I guess, plain and simple, probably poor timing of, yes, it happened on Halloween, but that was probably the first available. I don't think they specifically did it because it was Halloween. It was just, hey, it's around the time and then go forward. But either way, though, again, another tragic incident as, again, we talk about crime rates here in the city of Cheyenne and also too with the county. And again, obviously we have the big election coming up regarding sheriff between, again, at least the independent Republican and Democrat. Again, Jess Fresquez on the Democratic side, independent Jeff Barnes, Republican Brian Kozak. Again, it's going to be a kind of a telltale sign who gets in that position of, what do we do about crime stats? Where again we've heard various, again we've had from again Chief of Police Mark Francisco to again those candidates vying for that sheriff's position. We've had various indications of what crime rate is like right here in Laramie County, where it's gone down, if not gone up. Who knows?
And here's the deal too. I guess whoever wins the sheriff's race tomorrow, I mean, you bring in the sheriff-elect and you say, what would you have done different? I mean, that's the first thing you say. But this is not the first incident. Let's, again, not use just Laramie County Sheriff. I think it was early summer that we had an incident in East Cheyenne as well, too, where city police were involved in a shootout with a suspect. I think he was out of Scotts Bluff, who had holed up in a neighborhood. And, again, after repeated pleas for him to surrender, he didn't do it, and again he got into a shootout with Cheyenne PD, and eventually he was also basically killed at the scene. So again, it sounds like these criminals, hardened criminals, so to speak, it's almost like a warrant is being served, but they want to make sure it's a death warrant. I mean, basically, and they want to go out in a blaze of glory. And unfortunately, this happened Halloween night when youngsters are out and about. Again, don't know how many youngsters were even in that part of the neighborhood or in other streets. Have no idea in that part of the block.
And again, various entities, whether it's here in the city of Cheyenne, Laramie County, throughout the state of Wyoming, or in this nation, hey, guess what? You're going to face off with criminals that have that mentality of, hey, it's me or you. I'm not going to jail, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to, again, avoid being behind bars. So, again, there's not a perfect situation. In this recent incident on Halloween with the sheriff's office, again, you can't put the Laramie County Sheriff's Office at fault or blame with the suspect being dead.
What you need is the Laramie County Sheriff to fill in the blanks. That's the first thing I'd ask them.
Yeah.
But also, too, we as citizens of Cheyenne and Laramie County, applaud their efforts just simply for the fact a bad guy is gone. We don't have to worry about a bad guy anymore. And I mean a bad guy.
Yeah, again, plain and simple, if you want to take it that way, absolutely. But, again, with this recent incident, and again, you take back to, the CPD's incident with the SWAT team coming out, again, in town. Again, I do believe that. You said, summertime. I think it was around May. It's a situation that, are these incidents an indication that crime is upticking? As we've heard it from CPD saying, hey, this year crime stats have gone down. Here's the statistics. We've heard other entities say, and again, we've had people running for city council say, hey, crime's an issue right now in the city. We don't have that at least that agreement of, is it going down? Is it going up? I think with these recent incidents, especially this one happening on Halloween, does it mean that crime is rising again here in Cheyenne? I don't think so. Again, this was just plain simple, a warrant served. Criminal didn't want to at least oblige to it, fought for his life, and unfortunately lost.
Well, and the thing, too, it sounds like law enforcement here in Cheyenne, Laramie County, and the state of Wyoming with the state patrol, sounds like they know where the bad guys are, and they're hunting them down.
Yeah.
Okay? So, again, the really bad guy from the Scotts Bluff area was a murderer.
Yeah.
And they gave him ample opportunity to turn himself in. He didn't do it or give up. I don't know all of the answers here, but this was a really bad guy as well, and he's gone.
And I think this just gets notoriety, especially here in the city of Cheyenne, is just how the outcome ended, where, again, suspect at least killed, and again, deputy also too injured, but thankfully he's going to recover from his injuries. It's a situation that, again, it gets notoriety just for what it is. But again, if we ask CPD, if we ask the sheriff's department here in Cheyenne, and again, we can get at least current sheriff click on it. Again, might reach out to him. Again, how many warrants do they serve probably in a monthly, weekly, daily basis to, again, potential criminals? I don't think it's an everyday situation or there's umpteenth amount, but again, how many of those go peacefully where, hey, criminals behind bars?
Again, if you're really bad, you're going to go down, like I said, in a blaze of glory. It's interesting you mentioned, too, crime. If you listen to our latest Crime Stoppers from Brandon on 1480 KRAE, as well as our sister station, KYOY, the type of criminal that is starting to rear its ugly head. I saw this in Arizona many years ago. I was playing ball at Phoenix Municipal Stadium, and what the crooks were doing were, and matter of fact, I know we had a game there, and all of a sudden we're watching law enforcement come through. They were stealing copper wiring. You're seeing that type of criminal now,
which is something that, again, has been addressed, or at least it's not a recent thing. It's been happening more often.
Yeah, and in this particular situation, another radio tower here near Cheyenne, and again, you got to remember, I've got 3 of them near Cheyenne, where they went in and stole coaxial cable.
Which again, you use it for the metals, and again, just again.
Well, you get your signal on the air, but
no. I mean for the criminals, though. Again, it's for, again, melt down those metals for the at least that price on it. Again, also to sell.
But breaking into these facilities right now, and again, a lot of these facilities are out in the county. There's not a lot of towers that are here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. You might see one as you drive in, but it's still county property. And again, this is a crime of, like you said, stealing the metals. So we do have a lot of those kind of slugs that are roaming around.
Well, and again, it's not even just tower sites, as we've had our understanding. Again, it's been farm equipment that have, again, a lot of those metals. So again, it's happening throughout the county, and that's why, again, coming up tomorrow, again, this Laramie County Sheriff's race right now, between all 3 of those, at least, entities who are vying for it right now, this is very important. And again, it's not even just important for the city of Cheyenne, but again for the county as a whole. That which way are we going to go? And again, what's going to be the new direction for the sheriff's department, especially to protect all that mileage here.
Yeah, but don't knock the current sheriff as a lame duck. I mean,
no.
Again,
I'm not. I'm just saying this is an important move forward.
We've heard from both candidates and those that were running that the numbers are down. We need more. We need more deputies. We need more law enforcement on all spectrums right now. So again, there's only X amount to cover X amount.
Yeah.
So if we can, and again, whoever gets that position tomorrow, when they come in here, as I recall, one of the candidates saying, "Hey, I will be allowed to hit the ground running. I will be able to have an office, in the sheriff's
or
department."
a unit, yeah. Again,
so
and
vehicle. Obviously, right away, that philosophy is going to be changed from the current leadership. So they're going to come in with their brand of wanting to do things, and first thing they want to do more than anything is catch every bad guy in the world. And you know what? Power to them.
yeah, without a doubt. So again, it's very important. Again, for that sheriff's race, again, go out there. Who do you support? Again, whether it's current member of the department, again, a former chief of police. Again, unfortunately, did not get Jess Fresquez. Again, did reach out to him. Again, denied it. Request to come on air. But again, you got three candidates vying for that opportunity. Again, best of luck to whoever it is. But again, it's something that county is starting to feel pressure of, again, criminals and, again, the lack of bodies, and see if this new administration, whoever it may be, can get those problems solved, get those numbers up, and, again, crime in the county starts to trickle on down as well.
All right. Before we go, and the story came across my way this morning, I don't know how we present this anymore. I feel frustrated as a broadcaster. And I would hope my colleagues feel the same way. We get notices from the Wyoming Department of Transportation when severe weather hits.
Okay.
For example,
The recent winter weather?
winds, the recent winds, and as well as snow. You can snow and ice, but we say no unnecessary travel advisory. That's what they post. No unnecessary travel.
And usually, especially regarding the winds, regarding semis, again, it's no high profile vehicles again traveling.
Here's the point I'm making. And Dr. Rinne and I were talking about it too, because we're coming out of we're the last of the baby boomers, our age group, and I hate to say this, but we were the ones raised on open a car door, thank you, pull out a chair, that type of deal. And I'm not saying you don't do that, but what I'm saying is our standards are a lot different than the younger people. And as a matter of fact, I learned this a long time ago, Nick, when you were a kid and doing sports in the winter, driving, and a good friend of mine who passed away in 1998, John McKinney, who worked with me over at another radio station. And John always told me, he says, whatever you do, Larry, get behind a semi that has their flashers on, because they're the ones that are going to pave the way for you. And I think what we have right now, we're churning out again, because again, let's look at the labor market. We're churning out a lot of these folks in these trucking schools or, whatever company they're working for, and they're not getting the gist of how dangerous it is on Interstate 25 North and Interstate 80 West. They just don't get the drill, and they think they can, maybe back off 5-10 miles an hour, and it's not going to work. Again, the mass amount of semis that had been blown over just from Casper to Wheatland is unbelievable, and again,
you're
think about the thousands of dollars of damage.
Yeah, but again, you're putting the blame on schools and entities. Where there is a multitude of factors. And again, we look to, especially here in town at LCCC, they have that trucking department that again.
I understand that,
but I'm just saying again, it could be someone who is not used to elements out here that they come out
I
here.
think it's more the younger generation that doesn't understand.
I'm just saying, there's also two cars that also have issues when again hazards hit our roadways on the interstates as well too. So again, it's not just truckers. Yes, again, majority of them you'll see kind of fly again just due to the nature of the vehicle that they're driving. That again, they are tipped over. And again, we saw plenty with the winds over the past couple of weeks tipped over on I-80 especially. But again, it's a multitude of factors, and you can't pinpoint. But it's
a time is money type of situation, Nick.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, I wouldn't doubt that's probably the pressure of, hey, you can't sit idly by here in this town. You got to deliver this load or get this load at some time.
And I ask you the question, is it worth your life? Because, again, some of these folks are lucky that, the cab is not totaled, so to speak. It goes over with the base of the semi.
Yeah, most of the time, again, these drivers are thankfully not losing their lives. When again, the entity is tipping over into the ditch, or again the median,
and again causing thousands of dollars. And guess what? But it's lost time, isn't it?
Again, yeah, without a doubt. Again, it's costly on both sides of the avenue, without a doubt. But again, you bring up YDOT. I mean, if you're YDOT, though, again, you put up all those signs, you put up those warnings. Again, that's something where Highway Patrol's got to come in and enforce. But again, how do you enforce something like that? How do you prevent something like that for, again, those rogue drivers that, again, think, hey, I can brave those winds, those elements, and just move forward? I mean, well, I don't know how you police that.
I think you need to put on those, and again, we have message boards all across the state.
I think YDOT, plain and simple, has done enough to again warn, or at least, especially with the variable speed limits, with the signs that are across the entire state, they've done more than enough. But it's how do you prevent that is kind of the question even more. Where again, it seems like YDOT's done enough.
You need to say it's closed to semi truck traffic, but again, they know what commerce is all about too. Yeah. They don't want to be ones to hurt commerce, but. I would hate to be YDOT just for the reason, as you just said. You can't tell them not to, but again, they tell us no unnecessary travel advisory. So to me, as
which technically, if you see that advisory, still means you can travel.
But
It's just, hey, no unnecessary.
They
or
don't
like-
advise you
Yeah.
to do it. And I think really when we as broadcasters and what have you, when we mention that no unnecessary travel advisory, I think people need to start heeding that a lot more because, again, once, for example, we go up 25, and we even had a couple situations this summer where the winds were picking up when we went to go do some baseball.
It's more so notable in the winter, but
in the winter it's really hectic. But my point being, though, is it really worth? You got to ask yourself the first question as that driver of a car, a truck, a semi. And again, cars and trucks are low to the ground. Semis got a little more, where they're going to get a little more air underneath it. But you got to ask yourself, is the trip really necessary?
This economic climate, especially regarding truck drivers, it might be. It might be something where, again, that's kind of forced upon them.
If you hear, again, not everybody listens to our radio station. I wish they would. But if they did, and we say no unnecessary travel, would you heed that message? If you were a truck driver, no unnecessary travel, winds 60 to 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think twice about doing that? Again, I think, like you said, the pressures are enormous right now on truckers to get loads in, deliver it, and then get back to point A and start all over again. But when you are hauling an empty load, and again, these trucks, they become, I don't want to use the word balloons, but again, once the winds whip underneath them, they can go anywhere. They just they got a mind of their own, and again, I think really, and I'm not trying to be really specific, but I think the younger, inexperienced truck drivers don't understand how serious it is in this part of the world, especially with wind, ice, and snow. That's just my opinion.
We'll see. Again, it could be part of the problem. Could be, again, older generation that thinks, hey, I've been here, done it through these roadways. That kind of say, I've handled it before.
And
I can
you know
keep
what?
going.
They're
Again,
going about
I don't think
20,
it's
25 miles an hour.
I don't think it's a specific age group or, again, something like that. Again, I think it's just there's multitude of factors.
Younger, inexperienced.
I highly doubt that's.
Okay.
Or I would think it's a contributing factor, but I don't think it's the main. I think it's a multitude. Yeah. If you look at all the incidents, I wouldn't doubt you're taken from all different age groups, all different parts of the country, and different reasonings, backgrounds, all that good stuff. I think right now, and again, I think plain and simple, what you're seeing with those truck drivers, as we'll wrap things up as we're past the top of the hour, with these truck drivers, I think it's more economic fueled that we're making these unnecessary drives across the state, especially around this time of the year, where they probably should camp out at a truck stop or something like that to avoid, or at least kind of sit it out while that weather moves by. I think it's more pressure from companies, truck ownership, that's saying, hey, you got to be here by this time, or you're not getting your full pay possibly.
Well, and again, if it's a 24-hour delay, I'd rather have the rig back in great shape.
Time means money.
I know time means money, but again, is it worth to pay $100? And most of these rigs you could sleep in. You don't have to get a hotel room anymore. But is it worth it? $100 as opposed to thousands of dollars being littered on our center dividers and all that? That's just me. All right, we got to get going here. We'll be back again at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning with the Pro Show. For Nick Perotti, I'm Larry Perotti. Have a fantastic Monday afternoon.